Hello, my name is Sean, and today I'll be discussing about how choosing a career that one enjoys will extend life expectancy rather than choosing an career based on income. So my first point that I'll be discussing today is how an enjoyable job provides more of a comfortable or well-organized lifestyle. So we all know that having a job is already a hassle for us every day, a burden on our backs, but it will be even worse if you go to a job and you don't like what you're doing. So I'd like to start off from stating that a satisfying job over an income job would provide a lot more benefits, and not just not having wealth, but it could give you less stress and give you benefits on spending more time with your family, your friends, making relationships, and also focusing on your priorities and most of all your health. So for an income-based job, there's usually a miserable portion because one is so focused on maintaining that high salary amount you want, instead of knowing that you need to enjoy what you're doing and stop wasting time on something you aren't interested in. So one of the quotes that I found from a researcher named Linnaeus Pauling once said, satisfaction of one's curiosity is one of the greatest sources of happiness in life. As you can see from this quote, satisfaction and happiness is directly proportional, which means that if satisfaction goes up, that means one's happiness also goes up. So also, having to do one that one enjoys makes one feel more fulfilled and rewarded rather than doing something they do not like. So for my second point, I am going to talk about how income has little to do with longevity. I'm pretty sure many people are still unfazed by the quote, money will bring happiness at all times. However, in my argument, this is technically not true. So according to the research collected by the National Academy of Sciences, they concluded that high income buys life satisfaction, but not happiness, and that low income is associated both with low life evaluation and low emotional well-being. So to state the obvious, we know that low income obviously makes someone less happy. But the most crucial part of this research data collected was how it says that high income will produce satisfaction but not happiness. So the key thing to notice is that one should spend more time into enjoying what they do in life instead of wasting time and doing something they do not like. And let's take, for example, there's like many cases of where people would choose a high income job over a more enjoyable job. And it's usually a factor of age. So the factor of age comes in when an adult has to usually take care of their household, they have to pay rent, mortgages, and all that stuff, which requires them to choose a high income job. However, there are students that have more time than adults that could easily choose the high income job just to get paid more and, let's say, pay off their loans and all that stuff. But in this case, that's not really how it goes. So the main reason that I like to conclude about income is not related to longevity is that there are many people that perceive happiness in a different way. There's many people that perceive happiness as having to just live satisfactory, getting food, living in shelter, but others have satisfaction or happiness by having things that are valuable to them. That could be expensive, or that could take some time to achieve. So even though views of happiness is different from other people, I still believe that income is not related to longevity. And for my last point today is about how there is a psychological factor that strongly influences longevity if you choose an enjoyable job. So according to the research of the University of Southern California Applied Psychology Program, they stated being able to enjoy work is the main factor in getting into a state of flow. Flow is the experience you are in the zone. This means that every time you view a task negatively, this mindset is already making it harder for you to complete your work. So doing your work you love is energizing and creates a positive feedback loop that fuels productivity. So according to this USC program, I stated that if one has no interest in doing it, then they'll realize, why am I in this business? Why am I wasting time? And they'll get less productive, and mostly lead to depression and all sorts of lack of motivation. However, in people who enjoy their jobs, they have a constant sort of urge to finish what they want to do in life, which could cause higher productivity and less depression and lack of motivation. And one more quote from Professor Kalman. He stated that wealthier people seem to be less able to savor the small things in life. I completely agree with that, because psychologically, people that are wealthy have a hardwire in their mind. Their mindset is hardwired to only money, which means that they cannot realize the small things like their family and all that stuff that would affect their life every day. And I believe that job satisfaction could be considered job satisfaction can help one notice how the brain processes and works with the flow leading to longevity, and rather than a hardwired mindset than money. And even though people perceive happiness in different ways, I still believe that choosing a satisfying job over an income-based job can help one's longevity and mindset to become more involved with knowledge and skill to maintain a comfortable schedule throughout an everyday life. Thank you.
Well, the propositions identified, there's not really a preview of what the supporting structure is going to be. I'm not sure how much controversy there is on some aspects of this, that people might prefer a job that they enjoy. There's not a demonstration that the high-income job and the job with satisfaction are mutually exclusive. We need to see a lot more proof of that. That's a presupposition of your argument without any demonstration of it at the basis. Like I said, there's no real preview of what the supporting structure is going to be. Your label on the first point is not really a declarative sentence. It's just it's something about enjoyable jobs, and then you kind of have a description and hypotheticals about that, what those particular benefits would be. The source and the research on this is extremely thin. You've got one quote from somebody who's named, but we don't really know why it is that we should be listening to this person, that says that job satisfaction is linked to happiness. Okay, well, I think that we can generally maybe accept that that's in general true, but how significantly it is linked to happiness, I don't know. And of course, that doesn't really talk about your issue, which is the income level. There's an assumption that if you have high income, there's less job satisfaction, and I don't know that you've demonstrated that any place in the argument. You make an assumption that somebody has to be driven to work a particular way because they have to have this. You do have one quote toward the end from Professor Kelman that suggests that people who are wealthier have a harder time kind of finding happiness in the jobs that they have. That's a quote from an authority. I don't know how Professor Kelman arrived at this particular conclusion. I don't know if they were affiliated with the study that you're referring to from the Applied Psychology Department. It really feels a little uncertain as to how that fits in with your argument there. You do label a second point when you get to it, suggesting that income has little to do with longevity, but I didn't hear any data that demonstrates that. I would imagine that people who don't have adequate income have less access to health care, less access to physical therapy, less access to the kinds of things that would increase their longevity. And I suspect that people with lower incomes also are more likely to engage in more dangerous health behaviors, like the foods they eat or activities or recreation that they might engage in. That's kind of my belief, but that's just my belief, just like your belief is it's the other direction. I don't have any evidence to back it up at this particular moment, and you don't have any evidence to back up your position at this particular moment. So I think that that's really problematic. What appears to be a third point on psychological issues kind of goes all over the place in regard to how we might perceive happiness and satisfaction. In fact, there was one place where you suggested something that seemed like it was contradicting the claim that you were making, that in fact people who had poor-paying jobs also suffered from a lack of satisfaction in their jobs. Now, you focused on the first part of the quote, but you seem to have ignored the entire second part of the quote, which seems to contradict the general position that you're taking there. So there's some inconsistency on that as well. It just feels highly ambiguous, and we don't have any actual way of measuring some of these things except in a very general way. I feel a little bit like whoever's going to be arguing about this, it's like fighting the fog. There's going to be something that just moves out of the way, and there'll be something else that comes up. You're going to have to, I think, demonstrating that money is a key component in functioning in life, and functioning in life is essential to satisfaction. I guess that's the way you would approach it. All right, thank you.